For me, I see two major differences between teaching online and teaching in class. And the first is I really can't see the students. And when I'm teaching in class, I really rely on eye contact and looking at students' expressions or whether or not I'm able to convey the material in a way that they can understand. If they're having difficulty on an online course, is you can't see students' eyeballs. And so that makes it much more distant between the students. The other main difference I find is it's hard to be spontaneous on an online course. Essentially, the course is in the bag before the term starts. You can make some changes online in terms of the course material. When you're teaching in a classroom, you can make those changes immediately. You can do it just on the day of the class. So I find that spontaneity is really important for me, and it's one of the things that I like about teaching. It's a little bit more difficult to do that on an online course.
Well, teaching online is different than teaching in a classroom-based or face-to-face course. I teach primarily in an asynchronous learning environment, and by that I mean it's time-shifted. It is not dependent on a particular meeting at a particular time and place. So I use asynchronous communication tools to meet with students and to carry on discussion. It's similar to face-to-face as well in the sense that it's good teaching is good teaching, and so some of the elements that I've designed into my online courses would be the kinds of things that you would expect in any good teaching environment. You know, valid and authentic assessment strategies, opportunities for regular interaction with student-to-student and student-instructor, and a whole number of other support systems. So there are similarities, but there are some clear differences. And I might just add that online learning is not the poor first cousin of face-to-face teaching and learning. It offers some opportunities for students to learn in different ways and has some affordances that are bound up in some of the technologies and certainly some of the methods that one can bring to bear. And I think those are powerful learning opportunities for students.
Teaching online is greatly different than teaching in face-to-face. I'm going to call up on the 4 traditions of teaching to answer that question. From my understanding of the 4 traditions of teaching, I'll use Coldren and Smith's work. There is the craft tradition, which is the skill set that we have, asking questions, managing the classroom, that kind of thing. There's the moral tradition, which is teaching what you ought to be teaching to students. The artistic, which is knowing when you have students in that pocket where they're learning. And then the science tradition, which is knowing that students are learning because of how you're teaching or because of what you've taught. And when you're in a face-to-face environment, you can use all 4 interchangeably quite easily. But online, you lose the artistic almost completely, and you lose some of the craft as well. When I'm teaching online, I don't really know necessarily that the students are engaged. I don't always know what it is that I'm doing that is most appealing to them, whether it's discussion boards, whether it's using different videos or a variety of different techniques, or whether it's just their personal emails to me. I don't really know what is effective for each student, so I'm doing a lot of guesswork. I think that evaporates when you don't have that body language, when you can't really see what it is that you're doing. Plus, teaching online, you lose a lot of the other techniques that you're so used to using in the classroom in terms of the craft. Classroom management, I don't even know what that looks like online. Maybe it's organization, maybe it's just having things on time, having to switch from talking to students in class to having office hours that are not necessarily in person either. Always making sure that you're available on email or even texting or over the phone. So it's quite different. And I think having taught in person, face-to-face for a number of years, I got used to developing those 4 areas, and online it's a whole new approach, and all 4 are important. I don't ever want to lose one. So I would say that it's different through the craft tradition and immensely different through the artistic.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think teaching online is as different from teaching face-to-face as a lot of people would like you to believe. Certainly you have to be much more explicit because you can't pick up on certain kinds of cueing and whatnot. I mean, you are working with a remote audience, and that's a little bit tough, especially at first. And your time commitment is huge. Probably, well, I don't want to put any numbers on it. I think it depends on the person, but most people experience that it costs them a lot more time to teach online than it does face-to-face. Cost. That's a bad way to put that. It's an investment that we make in it. But in the actual teaching, it's not that different. You're picking up on cues that students give you. You're working with them through things. You struggle with ideas together. You question, you engage, you get excited about things, you get a little tired of other things. I mean, it's the same kind of cadence, I find, that I get with classroom teaching. That was a real surprise to me. I thought at first it was going to be completely different. And I think it was at first. It met my expectations. But as I got more comfortable with it, and I think as my students who are coming to us became more comfortable with the notion of being online to begin with, it became to feel more and more natural. I can't really say there's a lot of difference now.